Hi everyone, this is Alan Lipovsky from Constellation Research, and in this video I want to go over some of the highlights of this past week's BoxWorks conference that was held in San Francisco. Now, if you don't have time to watch this entire video, just stick with me for the next minute and let me get the main point across. Over the last few years, Box has been working on changing their company vision and messaging. Basically, they've been evolving the company from being a cloud-based file, store, and sync and share company to providing a platform where developers can build applications that leverage that great content that is stored inside Box. And it's actually not just the content. The platform from Box allows you to use things like identity and groups and file viewers, etc. If you're a developer, think of it as, the way Twilio provides communication service or the way Stripe provides, e-commerce and payment tools. Basically, Box wants to be the go-to place for building content into your applications. So if you take away nothing other than that from this video, there you go. That's sort of the big thing that's happening with Box, and they made a lot of announcements around the BoxWorks platform and showed a lot of really cool customer examples of people that are doing that. Now, if you have a few more minutes, stick with me, and we'll go over some more details of the product highlights or product announcements that they did. Let's start with, sort of that core Box file storing world. So they made a lot of improvements into the user interface of Box itself. So let's take a quick look at the new web user interface. The first thing you'll notice is over here on the left-hand side, there's icons to navigate to things like all files, which is kind of your starting point, just favorite files or folders, so you can easily mark ones that you use the most frequently. They've also said there's going to be a recent link here, but I don't have that one yet. Hopefully that will be appearing soon. And then you can do things like access your messages when people comment or when you're assigned tasks and things like that. If you're an administrator, you can jump to the admin console. So they're going to be adding more features here on the left-hand side. That's going to make it easier for you to get around. The body of the screen, sort of the main part of the screen, has been cleaned up, taking a lot of the information that was displayed and moving it over here onto the right-hand side in a details pane. So dates and times and descriptions and things are no longer displayed kind of in the body, but over here on the right. They've also enhanced the way you can search for information. So instead of just searching for a file name or a folder name that you can find things where you're not exactly sure, what the file name is. So I can come in here and say, find me things like just notes or just drawings, just images. You can do multi-select, so I can say images and documents that were created in just the past week that, are owned by me. So I can go find my things very easily there. So you can go in here and do sort of a filtered search. Now, I'm going to click on this favorites icon over here. You'll see it's going to take me to a subset of all the content that I have. And I'm going to jump right into this BoxWorks 2016 folder. And you're going to see that, here again are all the files and images that I've uploaded. When you select a specific file, not only do you sort of get the thumbnail over here on the right-hand side, you get statistics about how many times it's been looked at and viewed and downloaded, but you'll notice the title bar up here, or the banner bar, changes to provide some contextual actions for what you're doing. You can also right-click on it and get those actions as well. I can select multiple files, all sorts of things. So really kind of improvements. Now, I also really like that you can change to sort of the grid view or the card view of things when it's images. Obviously, this looks really nice. Videos, PowerPoint presentations, Acrobat files, all sorts of things, display really nicely here. And you can see some information about them. You can also very easily with the slider here change the size of what's being displayed so you can see more information or less information and scroll down through your file. So some really nice improvements on the web interface. Next up is improvements that they've made to Box Capture. So Box Capture is the mobile application that lets you use your phone's camera to take photos or videos. You can record audio, and instead of storing it on your device, it automatically uploads and stores that information directly in Box folders defined by the application. What they've added is the ability to do document scanning, so you can take images of paper. Now, it's important to note that Box Capture is only currently available for iOS. Hopefully, they will be bringing a Android version out sometime soon. They also made announcements around the new desktop client. So what the desktop client does is allow you to sort of map the file structure you have on the web. So you saw those folders that I have. I could see those folders from either my Windows File Manager or my Mac Finder. But unlike Sync, where you're keeping all of the objects, in sync between your desktop, your own computer, and the web, what the new desktop client is going to do is sort of provide a virtual mapping to those files and folders, and they will actually only appear on your hard drive when you click on one. They will be streamed down to you at that time, so you're able to access lots of files and folders without having to take up a lot of content. They also announced a new partnership with Google, where you're going to be able to store and create Google documents and do Google's new Springboard search, which is kind of a unified search across Gmail and Calendar and tasks and apps and all of those things at once. So you're going to be able to store those Google documents in Box and get the advantages that you have around the collaborative and secure features and things like that. Now, moving on to Box Notes. Box Notes is sort of their lightweight web-based word processor. So they have enhanced this with a new navigation. You can see over on the left-hand side, you have some icons to jump between different files and folders. You can easily see the notes that you've created. So they're improving the user interface for Box Notes itself. They no longer open up in separate tabs for each note. You can just click back and forth between them. But also significantly, they also announced a desktop client for Box Notes. So you'll be able to not have to go to the website. You'll be able to just quickly create notes right from your Mac or your Windows machine. And this also should provide some offline support. So you'll be able to work on those notes that you're creating and then sync them back up to Box when you're done. Now this is sort of a competitor to something like a Evernote or a Microsoft OneNote or others, Quip that was just acquired by Salesforce. It's a very useful lightweight editor that allows you to quickly create content. They also do some linkages to Box files and folders. So if you mention a Box file or folder in a note, you'll be able to quickly jump right to that area. So really good things are happening with Box Notes. I encourage you to take a look at that. And finally, the last thing they sort of announced on the product side is a new thing called Box Relay. Now, Box Relay is a workflow application. So what does that mean? It allows you to sort of map out the steps in a process. So new hire onboarding or getting a report into production from the draft stage to getting it into customers' hands. Any type of workflow you use in your organization. Now, what's interesting about this is the sort of culmination of the IBM partnership, that was announced last year. So IBM and Box have been working together on this product. The workflow engine is built by IBM. The user experience is built by Box, and all of the storage of all of the data and metadata and conversations and things that happen around the workflows is stored in Box, but IBM has built the workflow engine. So let's take a very quick look at it. When you're in Box Relay, you'll see the tasks that have been assigned to you as part of a workflow. So say you have to approve a document or you have to provide somebody feedback or something, you'll see those tasks right there at the top. And then here's a quick example of what sort of a workflow analytics screen will look like. You see the number of steps that are in a process. You see their status. Are they green or yellow or red? Are they complete, etc.? Down here at the bottom of the screen, you can see the 4 steps. So it's early stages for this. This is something that will hopefully be coming out in the first half of next year, but it's really interesting to see Box and IBM working on this together. So from a product standpoint, lots of new things for Box Files. There's new content creation in Box Notes, and there's this new workflow engine in Box Relay. Now, day 2 was focused more on the developer side of things, not the end user side of things, and they had sort of 2 major announcements. The first is called Box UI Kit, and what this does is it allows developers to just simply add things like file upload controls or the navigator or comments in the activity feed, the preview of what documents look like and annotations and things like that. You can easily just drag and drop and add these things, these components, directly into your own applications. Another big thing they announced is a developer console. So if you're going to be building applications, they brought together a whole bunch of the things you need, like support forums, documentation for the API calls, analytics about your applications. How many API calls is it making? Are they the speed and the time of them? All sorts of things that help you sort of diagnose your application. Now, my colleague Holger Mueller, I'm sure will dive into a lot more detail about the platform and developer aspects of Box, but I wanted to be sure to just mention to you again, this kind of correlates to what I was saying, that a big part of the show was about moving Box from being just file sharing to being a platform for app dev. Now, there was other things talked about at the conference that aren't necessarily specifically new announcements, but I did want to make sure to call out because they're very important things about the Box platform. Integrations with other applications like Salesforce and Microsoft Office 365. Box has several certifications, things like financial and the FINRA world, government, FedRAMP, HIPAA compliancy, all sorts of different certifications. Earlier in the year, they announced Box Zones. This is kind of significant, or I shouldn't say kind of, is quite significant in that it allows Box customers to store their content in data farms outside of the United States for the first time. So Germany, Ireland, Japan, and Singapore. Coming soon, Australia and Canada. And I'm sure we're going to see this list growing. Box KeySafe was announced this year as well, which lets administrators inside your organization manage and control the encryption keys for all of the data inside for the content that's stored in Box. So that's an add-on product that's very important to those that need that level of security. And then Box Governance as well. This is sort of content policies like do not allow sharing of files if they have serial numbers in them, document retention and legal hold rules for compliance and governance. So lots of pieces around the Box platform were also a key part of the show, but maybe not necessarily brand new announcements. Now, there are things that I'd like to see improvements in the Box world. So things like content discovery. So, the whole point to Box, you've got all this great files and folders and conversations happening up there. You would like to see it easier for end users to discover, top content, top contributors, trending, subjects, tags, etc. So the ability to discover that content is, I think, important. Collaboration features, some enhancements to things around the tasks and notifications and sharing and, a whole bunch of things, peoples and profiles, grouping content together around projects or workspaces or, all sorts of things that can be enhanced in the collaboration world. Dashboards, starting my day, like I'd like to log on and sort of be able to see, what notifications or sort of tasks have been assigned to me. How are my files doing? Not just the top 10 that I mentioned in content discovery, but what I've created. So sort of personal analytics. How are the things that I'm contributing in Box doing? I think is really important. On the content creation side, I mentioned Box Notes. I'd like to see things like a web clipper to be able to sort of bring content into a Box Note. Or maybe not even into a Box Note, a web clipper that just, takes web pages and stores them inside Box files, or sort of inside Box folders. So form, sort of structure-based to Box Notes I'd like to see, drop-down lists and radio buttons and checkboxes and things like that. So enhancements to sort of that content creation process. And then finally, sort of the world of artificial intelligence is something that all vendors are talking about these days. Now, I don't really want to talk about it as AI or machine learning or any of these buzzwords. I talk about it from the context of having these tools help you or assist you more. So assisted collaboration, or in this case for Box, assisted content management. So what do I mean by that? Think of the things the computer or the software could do for you around content. So while Box didn't announce any features, I will give them credit. They talked about this in some of the research lab crystal ball sessions and some of the things that they know that this is important and they know that they need to be working on it. So I expect, in 2017 to be some things. So things like using machine language to tag the objects that are in images that are being uploaded, or being able to scan the content that's coming up and bring out keywords and do automatic categorization of content, or just do things like related content. If you're looking at a piece of content, what are some of the others? So all sorts of things that could happen in the assisted content management world. But overall, definitely BoxWorks was an excellent show. 5,000 people in attendance. They announced there's 66,000 customers now. Hopefully I've gotten across the point that, they're not just a file sharing vendor anymore. They are really focused on allowing customers to use the content that is stored in Box in significant ways inside applications, whether those are workflow applications or custom-made applications like product catalogs and insurance claim forms, legal tracking of information, all sorts of different things, medical forms. you name it. So this has been Alan Lepofsky with a review of BoxWorks 2016. If you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear from you. And hopefully we'll be seeing you at BoxWorks 2017, which they announced at the end of the week, will be October 10th of next year. So again, Alan Lepofsky from Constellation Research. Thanks for watching.